What's up, NFL fans? Get ready for a showdown that's got more drama than a soap opera and more firepower than a Michael Bay movie. We're talking Cowboys versus Saints, Week 2. And trust me, this ain't your average early season matchup. We've got a quarterback coming off injury, a coach with something to prove, and enough star power to light up the Superdome. I'm about to break down everything you need to know about this clash of titans. Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Fan, your ultimate destination for all things America's team. Whether you bleed blue and silver or are just starting to catch Cowboys fever, this is the place. If you are a die-hard fan, please make sure to subscribe for more latest news and updates of your favorite team. We're diving deep into one of the most anticipated matchups of Week 2, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New Orleans Saints. Buckle up, because we've got a lot to cover, from key injuries to crucial matchups and players who could make or break this game. Let's kick things off with the injury report, because as we all know, staying healthy is half the battle in the NFL. The Cowboys are coming into this one a bit banged up, folks. Their star quarterback Dak Prescott is still nursing that calf strain from last week. Now, he's listed as questionable, but let's be real, Dak's a warrior. I'd be shocked if he doesn't suit up. But keep an eye on his mobility, especially against that aggressive Saints D-line. On the other side of the ball, the Cowboys' secondary took a hit with cornerback Trayvon Diggs, dealing with a hamstring issue. He's been limited in practice, and that could be a major factor against the Saints' passing attack. We'll get into that matchup in a bit, but losing Diggs would be a huge blow to Dallas's defense. Now, for the Saints, they're not exactly coming in at 100% either. Running back Alvin Kamara is dealing with a rib injury that kept him limited in practice. Kamara's one of the most dynamic players in the league, so his status is going to be crucial. If he can't go or is limited, that puts a lot more pressure on Jameis Winston and the passing game. Speaking of Winston, he's had some knee soreness this week. It's probably nothing major, but for a guy coming off a CL surgery last year, it's definitely something to monitor. The Saints' offensive line is also a bit banged up, with tackles Ryan Ramczyk and James Hurst both questionable. That could spell trouble against the Cowboys' pass rush. All right, now that we've got the injury rundown, let's talk matchups. This game is going to be won or lost in the trenches, folks. The Cowboys' offensive line, led by all-pro guard Zach Martin, is going to have their hands full with the Saints' defensive front. Cameron Jordan and Marcus Davenport can wreak havoc if they're not contained. If the Cowboys can't establish the run with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Dak to make plays. On the flip side, the Saints' offensive line needs to step up big time. The Cowboys' pass rush, led by Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, is no joke. They combined for 4 sacks last week, and you can bet they're licking their chops at the thought of a potentially immobile Jameis Winston. If the Saints can't protect Winston, it could be a long day for the New Orleans offense. Now, let's talk about some players to watch, because this game is full of potential game changers. For the Cowboys, all eyes are going to be on CeeDee Lamb. With Amari Cooper gone, Lamb is now the undisputed WR1 in Dallas. He had a solid opener last week, but the Cowboys are going to need him to take it to another level against a tough Saints secondary. If Marshon Lattimore shadows Lamb, that's going to be a battle you won't want to take your eyes off. On the defensive side for Dallas, I'm keeping a close eye on safety Malik Hooker. With Diggs potentially limited, Hooker's going to have to step up in coverage. He's got the talent to be a difference maker, and the Cowboys are going to need him to play big, especially if Michael Thomas is back to his old self for the Saints. For New Orleans, the player I'm most excited to watch is rookie wide receiver Chris Olave. This kid looked electric in his NFL debut, and I think he could be the X factor in this game. If he can get loose against the Cowboys' secondary, especially if Diggs is out or limited, he could have a breakout performance. Defensively for the Saints, keep your eyes on linebacker Demario Davis. He's the heart and soul of that defense, and he's going to be crucial in containing the Cowboys' run game and spying on Dak Prescott. If Davis can disrupt the Cowboys' offensive rhythm, it could go a long way toward a Saints victory. Now, let's talk about some interesting storylines heading into this game. First off, we've got the return of Sean Payton to the sidelines for the Saints. After taking a year off, Payton is back, and you know he's got something to prove. He's one of the best offensive minds in the game, and I'm sure he's cooked up some special plays for this Cowboys defense. On the Cowboys side, there's been a lot of talk about Mike McCarthy's job security. After a disappointing playoff exit last year, the pressure is on McCarthy to deliver. A win against a tough Saints team on the road would go a long way towards silencing his critics. We've also got the ongoing saga of Ezekiel Elliott and his role in the Cowboys' offense. Elliott looked rejuvenated in Week 1, but there's still a lot of debate about whether he or Tony Pollard should be getting the bulk of the carries. How McCarthy manages this backfield could be a key factor in the game. For the Saints, all eyes are on Jameis Winston. After a solid 2021 season cut short by injury, there are still questions about whether Winston can be the long-term answer at quarterback for New Orleans. A big performance against a high-profile team, like the Cowboys, would go a long way towards cementing his status as the Saints' QB of the future. Now, let's talk about some key stats and trends that could impact this game. The Cowboys have historically struggled in New Orleans, winning just 2 of their last 7 games in the Superdome. That crowd noise is no joke, folks, and it could be a factor, especially if the Saints get off to a hot start. On the flip side, the Cowboys have been road warriors recently, going 8-2 in their last 10 away games. They've shown they can handle hostile environments, which could be crucial in a tight game. The Saints' defense has been stout against the run, allowing just 3.7 yards per carry last season. That's going to put the pressure on Dak Prescott and the Cowboys' passing game to move the chains. One interesting trend to watch: the Cowboys were 7-2 last season when they won the turnover battle. With both teams having aggressive defenses, turnovers could be the deciding factor in this one. As we wrap up, let's make some bold predictions. I think we're going to see a breakout game from Tony Pollard. The Saints' focus on stopping Zeke is going to open up opportunities for Pollard, both in the run game and as a receiver out of the backfield. Don't be surprised if he ends up with over 100 total yards and a touchdown. For the Saints, I'm calling it now, Chris Olave is going to have his coming out party. I think he ends up with over 100 yards receiving and finds the end zone twice. This kid is special, and I think we're going to see it on full display against the Cowboys. In terms of the final score, this one's tough to call. Both teams have explosive offenses and playmaking defenses. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I'm giving the slight edge to the Saints. Home field advantage and Sean Payton's return are going to be the difference. I've got the Saints winning a nail-biter, 27-24.